meeting to eliminate the feedback. I see that the commissioners already know this very well. Right now, you can hear me very clearly because everyone is on mute. So when IT lets us know that they're ready to start, Mr. Chairman, the meeting is live.
Good evening, all. Welcome to our Monday, May 24th, 2021 Historic Preservation Commission meeting. I would like to call this meeting to order at 6:44 p.m. Secretary Henderson, please read the notice of compliance.
Notice requirements provided for in the Open Public Meetings Act have been satisfied. Notice of this meeting was properly given and published in the North Jersey Herald and News on August 7th, 2020, and filed with the clerk of the City of Paterson on July 31st, 2020, and posted in the Paterson City Hall immediately thereafter.
Thank you, Secretary. Can we please have the roll call?
Commissioner DeLees.
Present.
Commissioner Garcia Leon.
Present.
Commissioner Ahmed.
Present.
Commissioner Corbo.
Present.
Commissioner Redmond.
Absent.
Vice Chair Raffel.
Present.
Simpson.
Absent.
Commissioner Walter.
Present.
Chair Tate.
Present.
Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you very much. At this point, I think we should move to item 3, which is the approval of minutes for April 19th, 2021.
So move.
I believe that was Commissioner Leon. Do we have a second?
Seconded.
The second was by Commissioner Corbo. Is that recorded, Secretary?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. At this time, I'd like to,
Roll call, Mr. Chairman.
yes,
Commissioner DeLees.
Present.
Commissioner Garcia Leon.
Yes.
Commissioner Ahmed.
Yes.
Commissioner Corbo.
Yes.
Vice Chair Raffel.
Yes.
Commissioner Walter.
Yes.
Chair Tate.
yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. At this moment, I'd like to jump down to new business, which is item number 7 on our agenda. We'll start off with A, 22 Mill Street, aka the Franklin Mill, the plan and review of a proposed change of use to residential substance abuse treatment facility. Director, can you introduce this project with a report?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I'm going to pull up a photo to show a map so we can orient to the location of the application. I'm going to open this up, so bear with me while I get it out. Okay, can you see the map, Mr. Chairman?
Confirmed.
Okay, this on screen is a Google map to orient you to the location of this application. You'll see that McBride Avenue extension, it runs where my cursor is, pretty much from the upper right to the bottom left of the screen. Then the major cross street is Mill Street, running from the bottom to the top of the screen. We have where I'm circling now with my cursor at the corner of McBride Avenue Extension and Ellison Street, the location of the application. This is the historic name is the Franklin Mill, and it's right next door to this surface parking lot. And next door to another parking lot that we know is Overlook Park. So Overlook Park is just out of the screen. And down below here is the Passaic River on the upper left corner of the screen. And the project area that we know of as the Quarry Lawn is here right next to it, visible to the near the river. So this is pretty much the proximity of the project area to various landmarks. Those of you who are familiar with the location, we have a stoplight at Mill and Ellison, and we were just looking at a new redevelopment project at the surface lot we call the Argus Mill, which is right where my cursor is, and the Ryle House is here too as part of the Argus Mill project area that we've reviewed recently. We also have school number 2 down here at the lower bottom left corner of the screen. And this large area off to the upper right corner of the screen is an elderly housing development that's been with us for quite some time, like back to the early 70s, as part of the block right across from the project area. I'm going to try to go to a next picture to show you the building, the Franklin Mill. This is a very handsome traditional brick mill. You can see the name clearly marked and the entrance on the sort of higher elevation side. And another feature that's important to note, which is just off screen to the left, is the entrance or the walkway to the middle raceway. You can see the elevation goes from higher to lower toward the corner of Mill and McBride. I'm going to just show you a couple. I have a good handful of photos to orient you with to this mill. But on my side, it's going a little bit slow. So let me just take a couple of them for you. Go through a couple more photos, and we can be done with orientation. Tonight we have the owner of this property as part of the presentation team, and the attorney, and also the proposed tenant, I believe, for the application to change the use of this mill from what it's been to a new use. I understand that nothing in the change of use proposal calls for exterior changes to the building. There may very well be a lot of interior changes being proposed in order to adapt the interior space for the new use. Again, we'll let the architect. It looks like also the architect might be on the line as well, ready to give his part of the presentation. So again, I'm going through these orientation photos. This is the parking lot side, or rather the opposite side of the street side that we just showed you. And there's some very beautiful windows and a lot of fenestration in this building. This building was restored quite some time ago, and quite frankly, there's been very little activity, meaning applications over the years on this property with regard to any changes to the building, either inside or outside that I'm aware of. In fact, my file research shows that I have one application several years ago for changing the roof of the building. And the building has always looked like this that I have known it in my time here in Paterson, and it's been very stable, and it's a very, very nice example of a high level of integrity and of a preservation effort that happened to bring the mill to this condition. So I'm going to click out of the orientation pictures now and go back to the screen. You should see on screen now the Great Falls redevelopment plan. This plan was adopted in 2018, and as a redevelopment plan supersedes the Great Falls Historic District zoning. I put on screen really quickly. This is something that hopefully will be discussed in the presentation, but I wanted you to see it here. There is in the redevelopment plan. There is a map that provides different areas of the redevelopment plan as districts, that names them as districts. And in this case, you can see at the top of the screen the district that our property or our current property is in is called the Adaptive Reuse Infill District. And you can see the definition given here in writing in front of you on screen. And you can also see that there's a bulleted list on the left side of principal permitted uses, and on the right side, accessory uses according to the zoning redevelopment plan. So the application, the change of use application or variance that is needed doesn't really fit in this list. So that's the point of applying for variance. And the Board of Adjustment is the board where this application will go for determining whether the change of use would be granted. This is a planning review for purposes of the Historic Preservation Commission. So we've done a lot of planning reviews in the past, and I'll just want to remind commissioners that after hearing the testimony, there's a question and answer period with the applicants, and then there's moving a motion on the floor for consideration of the application, and that's where you discuss the application. And finally, when the resolution is called up for voting after discussion, it's about sending your comments and over to the Board of Adjustment on this application. So that's the summation of what the application is for. Primarily, we'll be looking at listening to the testimony, and I'll leave the rest of the information for the applicants to present. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my introduction and presentation for this project.
Thank you, Director, for providing this report. At this moment, I'd like to have our attorney, Maita, swear in the applicants for this particular project. Can we have the applicants step forward for swearing in?
The first applicant, please state your name.
Jeff Abrams, the property owner.
Mr. Abrams, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
And you understand that anything you say that is contradictory can be held against you?
I do.
Okay, please proceed.
Okay, Dr. Henry Oglami.
Ms. Gata?
I don't hear him.
You have a couple.
Did he introduce himself, the doctor?
Yeah, I said Dr. Henry Oglami. Can you hear me?
I apologize, I did not hear you. Yes, doctor, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And you understand this is a formal proceeding and anything you say can be held against you?
I do.
The applicant has the floor to provide testimony.
Matt Evans, I see he's on the line. Is he going to also testify? Do you want to swear Matt in first?
Yeah, Matt Evans here. Can you hear me?
Confirmed.
Mr. Evans,
Yes.
please give your full name for the record.
Matthew Evans, architect, 470 Chamberlain Ave, Paterson, New Jersey.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
And you understand this is a formal proceeding and anything you say can be held against you?
Yes.
Are there any additional applicants who will be speaking on the floor?
it. Just the attorney, Mr. Rubin, who does not need to be sworn in. Mr. Abrams, you have the floor, or Mr. Rubin, whoever is going to proceed, please proceed.
Can you hear them? And you don't hear you if you're trying to make your presentation.
Actually, I don't know if Mr. Rubin is trying to speak, but I'm going to take him off mute just in case.
Thank you.
IT, can you take Mr. Rubin off mute?
There it is.
There you go. There
Can
you
you hear me now?
Yep.
We hear you. We hear you, Michael.
Thank you. Okay, starting at the beginning, this is 22 Mill Street, which is in the First Ward, Great Falls Redevelopment Area, AR-1, Adaptive Reuse and Infill District. As you heard from the director, this is a proposed use which does not fulfill the requirements of the district as set forth in the latest redevelopment plan. I think that the board should know a little bit about the type of use as an initial issue. And we do have the proposed user of the site, Dr. Ulalami, who is ready to testify and has been sworn. Doctor, you are on the call and you could hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Doctor, could you please advise the board of the essence of your application? What are you going to be doing on this site?
Yeah, we're proposing to do a residential substance abuse facility for medical detoxification and what we call also residential services. That means that clients would typically come from the emergency room when they seek treatment for initial detox. Detox is usually on average about a week. About half the clientele will also stay for what we call residential services, which is an additional 2 weeks. So the length of stay is somewhere between 7 days and 21 days with an average stay of about 14.
And do the average person who comes to your facility drive there? Do they have a car? Do they need parking for while they're stay?
No. So clients, so the way it's designed, we have a 38-bed facility on 2 floors, and then the 3rd floor is used for treatment. So the general will be about 20 males and 18 females on different floors. That's the way we design it. They typically come from the emergency room, so clients are not allowed to bring their cars on site. If they don't come from the emergency room, then they're dropped off mainly by family members who would bring them in for what we call the intake appointments. Clients also that are part of the residential will also not have, they're not permitted to have their cars there. They're not permitted to bring their cars there. So the clients will not need any parking. This is inpatient, more like a hospital, but it's one in which you really can't bring your car. So there's no outpatient on this site. So clients are not going to be coming from home to see the doctor. They're just going to be in the residential or detoxification services.
Doctor, approximately how many patients would there be at any one time on site?
So we have a 38-bed facility. On average, when we're up and running, we probably have about 30 patients there at one time. That's about what we think we're going to have.
As a maximum?
No, the maximum is 38, but the average would be about 30, but the maximum is 38.
And how many persons would constitute your staff that would set on a maximum basis?
Okay, so staff usually is in shifts. So generally, which is a working day, probably about 8 to 4. We expect to be about 25 staff members at the maximum. Now, obviously, some staff come and go, so this could kind of like stretch to about 30. But the fixed staff members that will be there on a daily basis will be 25. The shift usually would run from about 8 to 8, and then another evening shift will run about 8 till the next morning. During the night, there'll be about 13 or 14 staff members with them overnight. Nurses, the full set of nurses, the full set of techs, security, and all that. On the weekend, it's a little bit different. On the weekend, we calculate that we would have about, during the day, we'll probably have about that 25 will get reduced to about 18 on Saturday and Sunday. With the night, with the weekend evening, it's same at 13. The visiting period is only once a week, so they're only going to be allowed to visit. Family members can only visit once a week, which would be a Sunday. And at that time during the day, we envision there'll be about 18 to 20 staff members and about the number of family members that come. The clients are only allowed to have immediate family, so you can't have friends over. It's got to be immediate family, brothers, sisters, parents, sons, and so typically clients will really have mostly one par visiting, but it would depend on the amount of clients that get visitors in the weekends.
Doctor, will there be a full kitchen, or will you be bringing in prepared foods?
Yeah, so there's going to be a full kitchen on the site. So we have accommodation for 2 chefs that will rotate, and they will make the food there. It's since we expect about 30 to 35 at the maximum. It's not a full commercial kitchen like a cafeteria that caters to 200, 300, 400. So this is would be more like what would you call like a small hotel.
Is it your intention to use this entire building, or will be a portion of it used for any other use?
So we're going to use the entire building. So the way the plans are, the lower floor, that's the ground floor, would be living quarters. The first floor would also be living quarters, additional living quarters, and the third floor would be offices and conference rooms. The plans we have has accommodation for 14 offices, which the doctors and therapists would use. There's a nursing station where the nurses will be. There's a head nurse office, and there are 4 big conference rooms where we will do the group therapy. But we're not going to do any additional activities on site. It's just like treatment, that's all.
Doctor, you know that we're in the Great Falls Historic District.
Correct.
In fact, you know that the building that you're in is a historic building that's been with us in the city for many years and has a historic status. You know what's surrounding this building, and you know you are adjoining the raceways, which are historic vestiges of a bygone era. And you've been in a position and been involved in this for a long time. Is this the right place for your?
Yes, it is. The most important thing is that the building is large, so it's got 3 floors, and everything is enclosed. We also have the streets to make the what I would say the recreational areas in the building. So we don't have recreational areas outside. The recreational areas, the gym, the the game rooms will all be on the third floor. So in that situation, we're not going to have clientele who are going out. The doors obviously are locked with security, so clients are not allowed to wander out of the building. Then once they come in, they're not allowed to leave. If for whatever reason we're discharging them, then we're taking them out. If for whatever reason they're signing out, because clients will sign out of the hospital. Not a lot, but here and there, against medical advice, then we also take them out and move them to wherever they're going. They're going home, we'll drop them at home. So because of this, we're really not, the historic nature of the building is preserved because we don't really need to alter anything. We don't need to build up any additional hospital ramps. We don't need to build up any external structure. We're going to take it as it is. Also, as you can see, there's going to be 25 to 30 staff members that are there on a daily basis during the day, and then also additional staff in the evening. The day staff members are doctors, and most of our staff members are master's level. Doctors, nurses, therapists are master's level. We also have the techs that are usually bachelor's level. So we think that this is going to revitalize some of the area, as, for example, they're going to need to take lunch. So they will be able to utilize the restaurant in the area for lunch. And I think that just bringing in a professional team to the area will greatly enhance the area.
Doctor, you mentioned in passing a moment ago some of the security features, and to round out your testimony this evening, I just want you to touch upon security. You have been in this profession for a long time. You know, and you've run other facilities. What are the precautions that you're taking for these patients and for the general public as to secure both those who are looking for treatment and those who might be on the outside of this building and maybe know someone inside? What are we doing?
So the way we take security, the most important thing with security for us is the level of staffing. So so generally speaking, with security, the common areas, we have cameras at the common areas, not in the bedroom, but in the common areas. We have cameras in the elevator, we have cameras outside that look outside, and we also have cameras in the hallways. Number two, with my staffing, we have 5 nurses on average at each shift and 6 during the day. The nurses usually treat; they're not security per se, but they keep an eye on the clientele. We also have 5 what we call techs, and those are really the first line of security. The most important thing that we run a very structured program, so everybody's together. It's not the type of program that you go off on your own. Everybody wakes up at 8, at 9, you take a shower at 9, you have your breakfast at 10, or 9:30 we have community meeting, 10 to 1, we have groups 1 to 1:30, so on and so forth. So it's a very structured day, and they're all with the mental health techs who are watching them, and also the facility manager and 2 securities on staff. Each level is not locked. We can't really lock it because of fire, but then we put in times there so that if those doors are open for whatever reason, without the text card, so the doors are the text have cards that they use to open the doors. If anybody opens the door for whatever reason, the bell rings. So that the doors in each floor, and also there's a main one outside, which is manned by security. So with this type of a building, there's really nowhere you can go out without us knowing that you're there. So the level of staffing, and then as you can see, we have a staff. The staff to patient ratio is almost 1-to-1. So it's not the type of facility that you have like 50 patients and you have 3 staff watching them. All 25 to 30 staff members that were going to be there during the day are going to be around the patient. So almost the same amount of staff members with the same amount of patients at the facility at each time. And that's really the combination of that is really what's there for security. At night, we still retain 5 mental health techs, although there's no treatment, they go to bed, there's still 5 of them and 2 security members and 5 nurses. So at night, even at night when they're sleeping, there are 12 or so staff members that are around, that are alert, that are watching them. So we're quite confident that we would not have any security issues just because of our level of staffing and the technology that we're able to employ.
Thank you. Those are direct questions of Doctor. If there's any questions by members of the board.
Does that conclude your testimony?
Yeah, this is direct testimony, yes.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to invite our commissioners to ask the applicants questions about what was just presented. Please raise your hands and the director will address you accordingly.
Okay, I'm having a little trouble finding the hand. This is Rich, can I speak?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I got a question about how many parking spaces you have for all these staff members and these visits on Sundays.
That'll be the next witness, sir. I will have the next witness parking.
Okay, I thought you were done with your testimony. Okay, I'm
That
mistaken.
testimony for this witness. I have 2 other witnesses.
Okay, I misunderstood that. I don't know if the chairman did also.
Yes, I did misunderstand that. Should we have the full presentation and then we can ask questions globally? And we can refer to each applicant accordingly.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Whatever you like.
Okay, so we'll have the next applicant up next. Thank you.
Next witness. The next witness I would call Jeff Abrams, if he could be sworn. I think he's been sworn already. Jeff, are you on?
I am, Mike.
Okay, and you have already been sworn in these proceedings.
Yes, I have.
You have been part of the ownership and managing this building for the last number of years prior to the time that this applicant has come aboard, at least made this application. So you know the building.
Yes, we purchased the building in 1983 from the Paterson Restoration Corporation and renovated at the time.
And you know that there's not been parking on site because you've been living with it for some time. So you have had a number of users in office space for some years. Could you please advise the commission as to how parking has been arranged over the years?
Yes, we've, since the very beginning, when we redeveloped the building, have leased surface park from the city of Paterson in 2 parking lots, one on Mill Street, back to Ellison, and Passaic, and one on McBride Avenue Extension. We still have leases on those parking lots. However, it is expected that the parking lot that we use just up the hill from the building on McBride Avenue Extension is going to be redeveloped with construction starting hopefully within the next 6 to 12 months, with a new 270 plus or minus space parking garage. So, we'll continue to rent parking. When that garage is completed, likely the parking will be accommodated solely in that garage. But we've been renting surface parking up to now.
You have heard the doctor testify as to how many patients, how many visitors there would be, and how many staff members. In your opinion, as someone who's been on the site now for a number of years, will there be adequate leasing spaces to service the new users of this building?
Yes, there should be ample park with this garage to accommodate this use. In fact, the parking for this use is much less number of spaces than we've had up to now. We've been using for office space over 100 spaces, and as Dr. Odilon said, their staff probably is in the neighborhood of 35 people. So the intensity of the parking need is dropping significantly.
So there would be even less need than heretofore than when it was an office building.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you. That's all the questions I would have of Mr. Abrams. The next witness would be Matt Evans. If Matt could come on the call.
Okay.
And Matt, you are there?
Yeah, you can hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Matt, you are the professional and architect on this job.
Yes.
And could you generally tell us what the changes are going to be for this new user on the site?
Okay, so what we have is a 4-page submission. We have it with the site location, site plan, zoning data on the S1 sheet. We have the second sheet, SK1, has the first floor, second floor plan, and then there's the third floor plan on SK2, and then we have the elevations, which is SK3. Basically what we're proposing is interior alterations. There'll be no exterior modifications of window openings or windows or new openings cut into the brick. Nothing would be done up to the exterior or the exterior walls or fenestration of the building. We are proposing all interior. Basically, it's as the doctor illustrated the use. Previously, it would be inpatient, and it would be a mix of dorms, and we were creating these bedrooms. They have a kitchen, dining room, lounge, and some conference room, meeting rooms for the tenants or the people, and basically the elevator, which is existing, would remain. The egress stairs, there's 2 remote stairs, they would remain. The building is fully sprinklered, that would be remain in place and modified for this use as needed. And basically, that's the architectural outline of what we're doing.
Does that conclude your testimony, Matthew?
Yeah, subject to any questions that board members may have.
Are there any additional witnesses? If not, I'd like to open up the floor to our commissioners to ask the applicant questions about the testimony that was just presented. Please raise your hand. I see Rich.
Yes, okay, my parking questions were answered. It's gonna be more than the 35 because on Sunday they're gonna have people come. It's still less than 100 that they said they had, arranged for. But I am a little concerned about the, first floor having all those, rooms for the, people there on the first floor. If there's no modifications for windows, I mean, couldn't they just open a window and be gone? You know, that's a little concerning.
The windows are inoperable.
The windows are inoperable, okay, so they can't open a window.
No.
Okay, that answers that question. Thank you, bye.
This is Chair Tate. I have a question for the applicant. We spoke a lot about the plans and the sort of circulation and the programming on the interior. With regards to the exterior, I understand that the envelope will remain intact. With signage, what's your proposal for signage?
I'll defer to Dr. Odilami as to what type of signage, if any, he will require.
No, for us, we don't use signage, so we're not going to, since we're not having people driving by that we want to attract, we bring our clientele from the hospital, so we're not going to have signage. I mean, inside, so when you get into the lobby, you will have a sign that says Gen Psych, but that's only when you enter into the entrance, where you have the entrance over there, that would have kind of like a plaque inside that says Gen Psych, but there's not going to be any external signage.
Other than the Franklin Mill sign, which would remain.
Correct.
Confirmed. Thank you very much for that. I see Rich, is your hand up for another question, or is that from before?
No, I'm sorry, I didn't put it down again. I'll lower it.
Are there any additional questions from our commissioners regarding this application and the testimony that was just presented?
I have a question to the director.
Confirmed.
Okay, so I've been showing the submitted plans as the presentation was going on, and the one thing I don't see on the plans is any access. I guess it would be the first floor. Any access maybe at the rear of the building for deliveries. I'm trying to get to that first floor plan now. This is the third, so I go to the first floor. Maybe it's probably at the top of this sheet here. So I'm assuming that like the kitchen level is at the first floor, and down here at the bottom of the screen, I believe this would be like the parking area that's just behind the building. I don't know if this parking lot behind the building actually has parking rights to the building, or is it just for the Essex Mill building? That's one question I have. The second question is, the kitchen is actually, facing the declining elevation of Ellison Street and really has access, it looks like only from either the elevator lobby through sort of two doors into the kitchen. I don't see how deliveries are, come and go other than actually blocking this street, which is a very busy street at McBride, and unloading, I'm assuming, like you said, a small restaurant, you would need daily deliveries of fresh vegetables and, dairy products, etc. How would they come and go into the building? I don't see any other access other than the lobby and then using an elevator to get down to the kitchen. That's one question. Another question that I have for Matt Evans, the architect, with regard to the changes to the interior and how they affect the interior. The reviewability of preservation has to do with changes to the exterior or changes to the interior that are visible from the exterior. So, for example, on this plan that I have, I've noticed this in many places in these plans. I'm going to go over and maybe blow this up just a little bit to make it a little more obvious. This is a very obvious example here. Bedroom number 3 and bedroom number 2, the dividing wall between these two, or the party wall, actually lies right in the middle of this window. And it looks like you're programming a wall right behind this window. There's also the same situation over and over and over again in these plans, where the walls are simply not placed in harmony and coordination with the pilasters of the building. So I'd like to, if Matt could please address that, and also the issue with deliveries. It seems outstanding that there would be so many people coming and going in this facility, including deliveries, staff, intake of people, changing shifts. I'm used to seeing, in my experience in the district, everyone coming and going from the lobby area. And is that still going to be the case? And then B, I don't think there was a kitchen planned in the previous occupancy of this building. So this is sort of a new thing. Also, we see no programming for a formal fan or exhaust hood for a commercial kitchen. In other words, if there's going to be a grill, which I assume there will be, to grill, let's say, meats, like a hamburger type grill that we're familiar with, there will usually be programmed the hood with halon, fire suppression, which is by code, and then an exhaust. And often they put these exhausts directly attached to the front face of the building, going up to, it's got a vent above the roof line of the building. There's no programming for that here. So I'll stop and I'll ask if Matt Evans could address those topics.
Okay. Going to the first item, I believe, would be the where the walls intersect with the exterior of the building. What we can do, I mean, there's a few cases where the windows or the walls meet at the mullion of the window. What we can do is jog those walls a foot or two before that to avoid any interference with the existing window system. So normally what we do is jog the wall and put a blank panel, but we could jog those walls and make that a condition that we take that so it doesn't affect the possible exterior look of the building. The other thing, the kitchen, some of the kitchen equipment would be vented through the roof, and it would not go out this side of the building and up the side of the building. So if there were any hood or equipment, we can vent it out through the roof. That would be the other case. What was the other question? Oh, the deliveries. The deliveries, well, we have the elevator, and we most likely get those deliveries done off the side and brought up the elevator or through the hallway of the building.
Okay, thank you. I just want to point out on screen, I noticed that you jogged these walls here, and this is the 3rd floor. Is this what you're talking about, like something like right here on screen?
Yes, you can see that one, and then the ones on the Middle Street side too. Also, we could those all be jogged. So that would not be a problem to do that, so it doesn't affect the facade.
That's how it is done, in fact, today. There are many of those layouts that you're looking at on this 3rd floor are as they are today, with the curve or the angle at the end of the wall meeting the pilaster.
Yeah, okay, great. Okay, thank you, Matt, for answering those questions.
Thank you.
Commissioners have any other questions?
This is Chair Tate. I have another question. Can you pull up the site plan for this application, please?
It's the first page.
Do you want to see this one or the actual building?
The actual building, but I might be able to ask a question with this. This is fine. This is fine.
Okay.
Just for record and just to confirm, there will not be any modification to the existing perimeter security, of the site, and also will there be any visible mechanical systems anywhere located within the view range of the district?
The mechanical systems are in place from the previous tenants. There's interior, all that would remain for the new tenant.
Confirmed. Are there any questions from the commissioners? And just to touch on the perimeter, there won't be any additional decorative gates or anything like that. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page here.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Could I ask a question about the deliveries again? Now that I'm looking at the site plan, Mr. Abrams, these parking spaces at the first level, kind of off of Mill Street, are they parking spaces pertaining to this building or not?
Those parking spaces belong to the adjacent apartment building. We do have a license agreement with them to utilize them on occasion and have for the past 35 years, but they're generally not used by our building.
Okay. And what if I were to say, I know that this gate for the parking lot is controlled by a key card for residents, and they flash their electronic card and the gate opens. If there were to be an entrance at this level from this side, it would seem to be very convenient to, access the kitchen and make deliveries from the parking lot, like to actually pull in delivery vehicles with a truck in order to do that. I don't know how the apartment, next door would see that as a shared kind of daily use for deliveries, but that was the thought I had. I don't believe you have any exits programmed for this level. But there is a concrete walkway here on screen that goes to sort of the center of this building. The center of this level. From what I recall on the floor plan, though, it doesn't line up with a hallway. I think there's an actual bedroom here instead. I think you probably need the bedrooms, for example. But I'm very concerned about this idea of McBride Avenue being a street on a kind of a I don't know if I would call it a slight grade. I call it kind of a heavy grade of both approaching and leaving. A lot of times a right-hand turn. If you're coming down Mill Street and you want to go and make a right-hand turn onto McBride, I can't imagine if there's a truck parked here making a delivery through the lobby and then the street is totally blocked. And I also can't imagine that there would be a delivery made from the parking deck, which would be on the other side of the raceway path, having to cross the bridge over the raceway, and then wheeling the deliveries down the sidewalk to the lobby. So this continues to be a very big concern and a conundrum to me.
I can address that if you would. Throughout the operation of the building for the past 36 years, we've done whatever deliveries and loading, including move-ins and move-outs of the tenants, just that way, with trucks parking up at the parking lot or a little further. The McBride Avenue levels out just at about the point where our lobby entrance is. And it becomes more level as it goes over the middle raceway to where the parking lot is. And traditionally, trucks have either pulled it into that lot, or just parked on McBride Avenue for the short period of time they needed to offload, and wheel things to the lobby. That's exactly how it was done.
Okay, thank you.
This is the chair, Chair Tate. With that being said, and to follow up on the director's question, do you imagine that the program change would increase the volume of deliveries? I know the doctor spoke very thoroughly about the circulation and program and day-to-day use of this. Would there be an increased volume of trucks going there? I understand that there would be deliveries for the new kitchen. Perhaps there might be material transfers. Could you speak on what you imagine the circulation would be versus what's currently there? And I know you just referenced that it's been there for a while.
I will again defer to Dr. Odin-Lamy. However, this is not as he pointed out, a large-scale facility. So there's cooking facilities for 30-plus residents and some staff, although I would imagine the staff may avail themselves of restaurants and other facilities outside of the building. But I would imagine that there would not be multiple deliveries each day to accommodate that kitchen. It might be one or two purveyors that come once a day, perhaps twice. But again, I'll defer to Dr. Odin-Lamy, who operates the building.
Yeah, I mean, I'll talk about that. So, the residential facility, so we really don't use medical equipment. So anybody that really is going to need complicated medical equipment is going to be detoxed in a hospital. So we're not going to have deliveries of oxygen and all the things you'll see in a regular hospital on a daily basis. We'll have oxygen sites, but we'll probably get it delivered maybe once a year or something like that because we hardly use it. The kitchen is going to be the main one, but as I say, I mean, I don't see a situation where there's going to need to be delivery more than once a day. I doubt if it is. The only thing that would actually even be delivered that frequently would be fresh vegetables. The rest of the stuff, probably not. Another thing we would have delivered is fresh laundry, because we typically do the laundry off-site just because of the volume of the laundry. So they'll come in, pick up the old the bed sheets that have been used the day before and things like that, and they'll bring in fresh ones. So that's really the only delivery. There'll be a laundry truck that probably comes once a day, once every 2-3 days, and then there'll be the kitchen, and that's it. There's no other deliveries.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, do we have any additional questions? Please raise your hand and the director will address you accordingly.
Mr. Chairman, I have a follow-up question. The laundry was another concern of mine for another delivery, but where's the garbage? I don't know if I see the garbage here. I'm not even sure. I mean, Mr. Abrams probably knows how that garbage has been handled over the years. All site plans require a garbage enclosure. I don't see one here. Is there one existing? Is that the same one that will be used?
Up to now, the garbage has been in an enclosed dumpster on the site on McBride Avenue where the garage is being located.
Right. So there's, I'm familiar with that garbage enclosure. Not sure if, as a planning board application, this would need to relocate that garbage enclosure due to the coming, parking garage that'll be built there. And, after that, you have any assurance that the contracts that you have with that, with the property now would be honored or continued in the new, parking deck? Any conversations about that, or how do you feel about that at this point?
I'm not sure I'm following your question pertaining to the garbage enclosure or pertaining to the.
Yeah. So you have the garbage enclosure on another, legal lot. It's not even on this lot. And you've been doing that for a long time, I'm assuming by a lease agreement.
Correct.
Is that right?
Yes.
So with the new parking building being constructed in the near future, do you have any assurances that that situation will continue?
No, we have not made that specific arrangement with the new garage as to whether we could locate a garbage enclosure there. So we would need to sort that out with them or place it elsewhere.
Yeah, is there a spot here on the site plan where it could go? For example, you might have room here. I'm not sure if there's rules about how close it goes to the building, but there doesn't look like there's that much available space that's accessible. So that was another concern that kind of stuck out to me when the doctor was mentioning about laundry. Doctor, I have a question for you. How many of these facilities have you run to date, or are there other ones that you're running right now? And do you have another one in Paterson or nearby? And why this location? Why did you choose this location?
Yeah, so we have mainly outpatient facilities that we run now. We have about 8 of them in New Jersey right now. We have 2 in Florida. One of them that is like this, like residential and inpatient. We also have 1 inpatient one in California, New Jersey. That's only really 13 bed, and that's really because of it's in the Highlands region. So because of that, we can only put 14 beds there, although it's on 15 acres. But because of the drainage, so we were looking for a location where we could have more people. Prior to COVID, we were doing them in. We had about 40 or so that we were bringing to our facilities and taking back to residences that we ran, or homes that we ran. But with COVID, we suspended that because we just couldn't deal with moving people with the pandemic. So why this location? Because of the size. This is one building in which we could build. We could have 38 instead of the 14 that we have in Canada. So that's really the main reason for that. It's a place where we can put the treatment and the beds, and in one location, 24,000 square feet in one location, which is really what we're looking for. And then we do have problems with drainage and water supply. In California, we have to use a well. The sprinkler is a problem because it's a well water. So I was looking for somewhere in which I would have all those problems that we had in California.
I see. So there's a substantial investment here. You would be looking to stay for a while, I would imagine.
Oh yes. So we're not going to. Yes, it's a big investment for us. So it's not the type of thing we move often. Where our current location in Bridgewater, we've been there now, I think since 2007 or so. We've been in Bridgewater, 2007, 2008. So we've been in Bridgewater for about 12, 13 years, and that's our first location. So we look to stay for a long while.
When you said that your patients generally come from the emergency room, can I take that to mean that the facility would be serving primarily people seeking help at the emergency room in Paterson, meaning they would be Paterson residents or area residents? Is that generally the pool of people who would be coming and going, or are patients taken from other counties, other states?
Why can't you do this?
Yeah, so I'll answer that. So the way we are is that we would, since we're in we're in about 6 different counties. So we'll take our clients or our patients from all the emergency rooms. Obviously, we are a private company, as you know, we're not government, so we usually take just private insurance. But we come to, we have somebody with private insurance, that was in a Paterson hospital, we'll take them. Or somebody that could self-pay the rate, but those beds are expensive. It's really only private insurance mainly that we would take from, but it will be all over New Jersey. We typically do not take out of state, but once in a while we have people coming from New York or Pennsylvania. Now, when I say private insurance, about half of them come from hospitals, but then there'll be another, 20% that go on the internet and, need help on things like that, and then there'll be another 20% that come from doctors' offices. The doc goes to see the doctor, and the doctor says, we need help, and they call us, and then we go get them. So it's about a mix, but most of them will be coming from medical type setting or from home, but there will only be patients that have private insurances where that's really all we take.
Okay, thank you, doctor. And is it on the application? It says pretty specifically, I believe, substance abuse rehabilitation. Is there an overlap with mental health cases as well? For example, there may be like an addiction and there may be a mental health issue, or maybe there's not an addiction and there's just a mental health issue, for example. Would you take patients for inpatient care? Is there expertise just for mental health inpatient services, or is this always specifically oriented towards substance abuse services?
Yeah, so the license is very specific. The license is that it will be primary substance abuse, that you could have a mental health problem, but it's got to be secondary, meaning that yes, you're drinking too much and you're also depressed, but the depression is not severe for you to require like an inpatient psych facility. So it's only substance abuse, primary care patients that we take. We're also Joint Commission certified, so we abide by all those very strict rules. And if somebody becomes, has a mental health problem that exhibits itself, that will generally transfer them to an inpatient psych facility at another location.
Thank you very much, doctor.
This is Director Tate. I have another question about the site. This is just kind of a foreseeing question. Do you, with your experience doing this type of facility, do you imagine any future or anticipate any future ancillary structures outside of what you propose in this plan?
No, there's nothing. So we're a non-smoking facility. So in those days, we really used to build structures for them to go and smoke outside. But for the past 5 years now, we've really been non-smoking. So when they come in, we give them nicotine patches. So there's really, once they come in, they really are only going to leave when they've been discharged. So we're not going to use any structures outside at all. They don't go out at all. We're self-sufficient in the building.
Thank you. Are there any additional questions on the floor from the commissioners? Director, please confirm if anyone wants to raise a question to the applicant.
Looks quiet on this side.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to open this up to the public. Secretary Henderson, could you please provide the telephone number so that the public can call in regarding this application?
Those who would like to participate in the public portion may call in at 973-321-1579 and enter meeting ID 711-680-001. Again, those who would like to participate in the public portion may call in at 973-321-1579 and enter meeting ID 711-680-001.
Thank you. The time is now 7:55 p.m. We're going to keep the call line open till 7:58, a 3-minute window. Thank you.
Mr.
I'm sorry, Michael, you cut out there.
This is Chair Tate. The time is now 7:58 p.m. Director, can you confirm if we have any calls from IT, from the public?
Mr. Chairman, there are no calls.
Thank you. So,
Can you hear me, Mr. Chairman?
yes.
You, Mr. Chairman, is me, Michael Evans speaking.
Yes, I hear you.
I just want to add one comment, if I may. This is what we in zoning called an inherently beneficial use. An inherently beneficial use in zoning means that the requirements for the site were, which we call the positive criteria, have been satisfied. And in a long line of cases in New Jersey, inherently beneficial uses are looked upon with great favor in New Jersey, especially those that have gone through the court process. And if there was ever an inherently beneficial use, this is it. And all one has to do is read the daily newspaper, and one knows that this is a use that is significantly needed in the community. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Secretary, do we have a resolution statement of purpose for this project?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Resolution number 2026 directs the Executive Director of the Historic Preservation Commission to prepare a memorandum containing the Commission's recommendations to the Planning Board and/or the Board of Adjustment regarding the property located at 22 Mill Street, Paterson, New Jersey, Block 401, Lot 6, situated within the designated Great Falls Historic District.
Thank you. Do we have a motion? And a second?
Commissioners, everyone's on mute, so if you're trying to speak, remember to take your mute off. We're looking for a motion, Commissioners.
I guess so moved.
Okay, so we have a motion.
Just to move this along, yeah, we got seconds.
Okay.
We've got a motion from Vice Chair Rafael, and then the second, it sounded like I heard Commissioner Walter. Is that confirmed?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Yes. Thank you. Can we have a roll call?
We're going to go for discussion, Mr. Chairman.
Confirmed. I'd like to open up the floor to the commissioners to discuss the resolution on the floor.
Commissioner Walter.
Yeah, I just want to make myself known that I think this is a completely inappropriate use for a building in the historic district, especially now that we have a national park a block away, and I think it sends the wrong symbol to our visitors that are coming to visit our great historic district and our national park to have a facility like this in our historic district. It's completely inappropriate, and I just want to be on record saying that. Thank you.
Commissioner Corvo.
Yes, I'm really going to concur with what Rich said. This is a worthy project, but not for this building, not for this district. I know the attorney said it's inherently beneficial, but it's a type of business which is self-contained, and it's not enhancing our district or our community, and it's certainly not benefiting the residents of Paterson or benefiting the tourist trade that we're trying to expand. In this area, we're doing so much in this historic district, and this one just does not fit in. And I think we need to send the Board of Adjustment and the Planning Board clear messages that this variance should not be approved. Thank you.
This is Commissioner Garcia Leon. I also agree with Walter and with Joyce. And also, due to my background, I have concerns other than the historic that this is too close to a school, number 2, that is basically about a block away. So I don't think it's the right project for the area.
This is Chair Tate, and I'd like to, I tend to agree with my fellow commissioners. I think it's inappropriate for the area, considering all of the energy that we put in over the last decade plus to get this park up to speed, and it's just, out of context.
And to echo the sentiments from all of my commissioners here, I do agree with the statements made by Joyce, Mayor Belvich, and our chair.
Commissioner Walter, your hand is up. Any other comments, or is that from before?
I'm sorry, that was from before, but basically, I stand by what I said. Thank you.
Are there any additional comments in this open discussion?
So just a question.
I think.
Just a quick question. If we vote no on this, or how do we vote on this to send the message to the Board of Adjustment that we strongly disagree with any variance to this?
Well, like all planning reviews, we try to. It's important to let the boards know what the Preservation Commission recommends with regard to supporting the application, or recommends against supporting the application. So that's the recommendation that I need to know, so I can represent that in a letter to the board. Sometimes we also have conditions that we suggest. So we suggest conditions as part of an approval for the application. So you might say, we heard from the architect and the owner, and we discussed the kitchen as an example. This was discussed, and we would approve this if a condition would be to not have the exhaust on the outside of the building, for example. So those are recommendations and conditions. Usually the formal memo contains both, based on the discussion that we're having during this part of the application. So far I've heard from the commissioners what appears to be a strong consensus for the recommendation to support the change of use application. And I have not heard conditions for approval. So that's how we would send the message in that way. Through everyone telling us what I think I just heard, basically, needs to be clear so that it can be stated as such. And for the reasons, some of the commissioners gave reasons which can be memorialized in the memo as well. So if there's other things that we want to be memorialized, then you can say them, now, and they'll be captured in the memo.
Hey, Gianfranco, Mohammed, for the permitted use that they want, I don't recommend it. So I don't think there's any conditions that I could have unless the permitted use is completely different.
Commissioner Corvo?
Yes, I would agree that I don't think we need to put any conditions on there, but I would add that the concerns that you raised, Director, regarding the garbage dumpster and the obvious increase in deliveries, I think that should be included in the memo, as well as if we accept this variance, what's going to happen in the future? Are we setting a precedent for other historic buildings in this area to want variances for similar reasons? And if this particular use of this building changes, and we've already accepted a variance on this, then what's going to happen in the future with what can occupy that building? Thank you.
Director, are there any more comments or recommendations from the commissioners?
No, Mr. Chairman. So if you call for the vote, just to be clear with commissioners, from the comments I've heard during discussion on the resolution to send comments to the Board of Adjustment on this application, there appears to be a strong consensus that this is not a case of conditions for conditions in support of an approval, but rather to not approve, a recommendation to not approve the application for the variance and change in use. So that's how the memo would be. So when you're voting yes on this, it's to direct me to write that memo. Just wanted to clarify that.
Confirmed. I see Commissioner Corbo's hand up. Is that from the previous comment, or is there an additional comment?
Yeah, I can't see, I'm sorry, it doesn't seem to want to lower. Chairman.
Okay. So if there are no more comments on this particular application, I think we are going to close the discussion. And since there are no conditions on this particular project, we will move into the resolution. Secretary, can you do a roll call based on what our director just mentioned regarding the memo preparation for the discussion on the floor?
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, could you repeat that?
Sure. So, considering the fact that there are no recommendations, and Director, please correct me if I don't state this the way that if I don't articulate this the way that we need to progress on this application. If there are no conditions on this application, and we would like the resolution to go forward with the director's memo, basically stating the inappropriate use and Board of Adjustment comments, then we would move forward with the roll call on this item.
Understood, Mr. Chairman, and the director's letter will reflect the commission's comments. Commissioner DeLeese.
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia Leon.
Yes.
Commissioner Ahmed.
Could you read the resolution one more time? Sorry.
Yes, Commissioner Ahmed. Resolution number 20-26 directs the Executive Director of the Historic Preservation Commission to prepare a memorandum containing the Commission's recommendations to the Planning Board and/or the Board of Adjustment regarding the property located at 22 Mill Street, Paterson, New Jersey, Block 4601, Lot 6, situated within the designated Great Falls Historic District.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Ahmed. Commissioner Corbo.
Yes.
Vice Chair Raffel.
Yes.
Commissioner Walter.
Yes.
Chair Tate.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Thank you to the applicants. John Franco will be in touch with you moving forward after this meeting. All right, so I'd like to move to new business, sub-item B. This is the nomination of the Belle Vista, aka Lamborgh Castles, to the National and State Registers of Historic Places. This is a review of Passaic County's nomination of this property, which is already listed in Historic Landmark on the City of Paterson Register of Historic Places since 1991. Executive Director, do you have a report for this?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe you are all aware of Lamborgh Castles within the boundaries of the city of Paterson, located off of Valley Road overlooking the city. This property is owned by Passaic County, has been in county's ownership since the early part of the 20th century. Lamborgh Castle was listed on the National and State Register of Historic Places some time ago, and in 1991 was also listed on Paterson's first round of monumental buildings nominated and designated to the city's register as well. So Lamborgh Castle has been, and properly so, recognized as a designated historic property in all of the different registers. However, it's been come to light that the nominations that were drafted and submitted for the national and state specifically were rather limited to the grounds of the immediate grounds of the building, sort of just the architecture. And I think most of you know also by background that Mr. Lambert built a landscape that much of which is still authentic and exists at the site. He also added an observation tower which prominently stands at the crest of Garrett Mountain and has a very wonderful vantage point looking out across the landscape. So there's been a very welcome effort by the county to resubmit a change to their national and state register nomination in order to broaden the boundary of the designation so that it actually is larger than the historic site. To this end, they've made their application to the State Historic Preservation Office, and I circulated to you with our meeting packets this week a letter that we received from SHPO telling that since Paterson is a certified local government, we have a formal role in being able to make comments and recommendations back to the SHPO about this considering this designation. This expansion of boundary, basically a designation. So they're asking for our comments, and this item of business refers to having us pass a resolution similar to our other, our planning resolutions, like the one we just went over, that would direct me, the director, to write back to the SHPO on this application with the commission's recommendations. So I would like to turn over the floor to Vice Chair Rafael, who, on behalf of the county, can tell us a little more about the application, and I have some plans and pictures also that will help her demonstrate what the county has submitted for. So I'm going to go ahead and ask Commissioner Rafael if she would take the floor and present these photos and maps. I'm going to get them out for us to look at.
Thank you for your report.
All right, good evening, everyone, again. Nice to see everybody. So just once the map is up to explain, but just a little more background on the undertaking here. So Lamborgh Castle was listed on the state and national register of historic places in 1975 on the state, and subsequently in 1976 on the national register. When landmarks began being listed on state and national registers, their nomination forms, just, in terms of the depth and research that was done then, is very light. So the boundary, therefore, was pretty much the building and its immediate surroundings. It had not changed from the 70s. So when we applied for our grant application to the New Jersey Historic Trust for the restoration of Lamborgh Castle and its carriage house, it was found that the carriage house and much of the outer buildings, such as the tower, were not part of that. They were not eligible. I mean, they were not part of that listing. Obviously, both the tower and the carriage house are contributing, or would be considered contributing features to the designation of Lamborgh Castle. So, on your screen, I think this is what we're proposing. Do you have the other map?
Yes, I do. I'll get it out now.
Right, sure. So the plans.
Maybe this one? Not this one.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, this is fine. This is good. So what is in red? So what I just mentioned about the National Register nomination from the 70s. So what is in red was the boundary that was on file with the State Historic Preservation Office. When we switch back to the next map, you know, our goal, especially for our grant application and for the project to kind of be complete, we need to list the carriage house. So this is coming as a amendment to the current Lamborgh Castle Belle Vista nomination. That amendment is, we're proposing sort of the outline to the boundary as you see in front of you. That boundary will sort of, you know, bring back much of Lambert's, you know, former estate. It will, you know, kind of swallow in, there you go. This is sort of a historic tract map that we dug up on Lambert's estate. It is actually not all of Garrett Mountain, which I had initially thought of when doing my research. It's sort of really just the top of the mountain. In any case, so we're kind of swallowing back parts of track 1, which you have the carriage house, his tower, and the entrance that's off of Valley Road today. Most of track 2 has been taken up by the construction of Route 19, and especially the southern part of this. So go back to go to the new map. I hope I'm making sense. So the new boundary outline, which was in the other, which were kind of, ooh.
Is it this one?
I believe so, yes. Yep. So as you can see, this is now, well, this is the proposed new boundary. So that kind of taking up track 1 as I showed you, as we just saw on the older map. Goes around the castle, takes in sort of the ridge of Garrett Mountain, and incorporates the tower. Now, what this will do, and I can share this with the commission, the draft nomination that we submitted, it does change the period of significance a bit, because they felt that the tower, or the story of Lambert's Tower, was a lot stronger during the WPA and park development movement, which is really the 1930s. Garrett Mountain actually opens, well, late 1920s, early 1930s. Garrett Mountain opens in July 29th, 1931. So they felt that the architecture, the significance of the park development and the WPA movement really kind of encapsulate the tower. Not that, you know, Lambert isn't important, but they felt that, you know, we need to sort of expand the period of significance to, you know, to add that movement. And, you know, luckily with this boundary expansion, it does include a lot of the trail work that would connect the tower. It gets us closer to the auto overlook. Garrett Mountain is not listed on the state or national register of historic places. It does have a national park service designation though, as a national natural landmark, which was done in 1969, and that was an expansion of the Great Falls National Landmark. So we do also have that incorporated into the story. Are there any questions? Anything you want me to further elaborate on?
Commissioners, please raise your hand or jump in.
Seems pretty clear to me.
And I will
I concur.
I will note, especially this is a good aerial, at least for this map. So if we're looking at sort of the bottom of the screen where it says block 1401, lot 49, you kind of see like the line, the boundary line runs through the carriage house complex. So oddly, you know, the SHPO, because they had not come to the site, they didn't understand. They thought we were kind of cutting out the carriage house. But all of that you see, the buildings in the area will be demolished because those were built in 1980 as a sort of classroom, storage, holding cells for the sheriff's department. And all of that is being removed per the restoration project that we're undergoing. So the historic buildings kind of are on that red line. They're really the edge of the boundary.
Chair Ravel, this is Chair Tate. Are there any? Is there an established timeline? Just curious to know.
So we started this project in, I want to say 2019. We submitted this to the State Preservation Office. So it's taken now 2 years for them to thoroughly review it and get us on a sites council. So if everything goes well in July, it will be moved to the national, the Office for National Registers for them to review. So we're probably looking at least another year before it's finally adopted.
Thank you. Good work, by the way.
Thank you.
I see Commissioner Walter.
Yeah, just a comment, nothing to do with this application, but should we be considering doing a city application to expand the boundaries the same way?
Well, the city, the city's nominations for a good number, I think I'm trying to go back to about 10 buildings now, were first made in 1991. The state of New Jersey passed a change to the land use law in 1988 to enable municipalities to adopt, preservation ordinances. So that's really the soonest time that, we had the ability to make designated sites in the city that would then come under a commission's review. So 1991 was really their first nomination, and included sites like City Hall, the County Courthouse, Lamborgh Castles, Danforth Library, and sort of the list goes on. There's about 10 buildings in the first nomination. So the nominations in 1991, quite frankly, had nothing of substance submitted with them. It was like a list put together by the first Preservation Commission of the most obvious monumental buildings and the most public ones for, if not anything else, for architectural reasons, all easily would qualify for designation, and they were voted on all at once. So if we were to go through each of those monumental buildings at the local level, we wouldn't have maps and writing and the kind of things that you're used to getting from staff reports since my tenure here, where, since, just like with the National Register, years ago in the 70s, there was very little substance to the applications, or to the nomination forms, and the same goes with our practice here. Our practice now has a lot more significant information than they did, historically. So we would be able to, let's say, let this process go through at the national level, and then ceremoniously adopt, at the local level here for our purposes, the same set of information as bona fide and the same boundaries as bona fide, for example, and ask the through a formality process sort of to adopt that. That's what I would recommend that we do.
Okay, so you're saying yes, Rich, yes, but wait until after the national is done.
Right, and we can take the benefit of this work that's been submitted and already considered by the national government. Yeah.
see Chair Rafael's hand up in the chat.
That was just from before when he started. It's okay. Sorry, I didn't take it down.
Okay. Commissioners, do we have any additional comments or questions for Vice Chair Rafael?
I see none, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Just a quick comment. I want to thank Kelly for it. Must have been a lot of work, and thank you for getting that all done.
Thank you. I will never write. I will never work on a nomination again. It is so hard. But it's good.
I second Walter's thoughts on that. Keep up the good work, Kelly. That was good. This is great. So,
I want to add to that. Thank you, Kelly.
We have a resolution prepared.
Okay.
Before the resolution, though, I'd like to recuse myself from the vote.
Confirmed. Secretary, could you please read the prepared resolution statement of purpose for this application?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Resolution 2027 authorizes Executive Director Gianfranco Archimede to prepare a letter to the State of New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection memorializing the Commission's support regarding the proposed boundary increase and additional documentation for the New Jersey National Registers of Historic Places designations of the property located at 3 Valley Road, Belle Vista.
Thank you, Secretary. Can we get a motion on the floor?
I'll make the motion, Rich.
Okay. I believe I heard Commissioner Walter for the motion and Commissioner Garcia Leon for the second.
Yes.
Is that confirmed? Thank you.
Roll call, Mr. Chairman.
Confirmed.
Commissioner DeLeese.
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia Leon.
Yes.
Commissioner Ahmed.
Hello?
Yes.
Commissioner
I think he confirmed.
Commissioner Corbo.
I see her volume is unmuted. Commissioner Corbo, can you confirm?
Yeah, we're having a little difficulty with your audio. Can you raise your hand? Okay, so your vote is, if your vote is, yeah, I see your hand is raised. Your vote must be yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Corbo. Vice Chair Rafael?
Please recuse from this.
Oh, yes. Commissioner Walter?
Yes.
Chair Tate?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. So at this time, I'd like to move back up on our agenda to administrative matters. We'll start with sub-item A, New Jersey Historic Preservation Virtual Conference, which takes place on June 3rd, June 10th, and June 17th, 2021. Executive Director, could you provide a report for this?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I've been advised by IT to let Joyce know that it might work if you disconnect and reconnect to the meeting to solve the issues that we're having with the audio. Even when you were speaking a little earlier, I sometimes miss half of it. So you're welcome to
Can you hear me now?
jump on again in order to.
Can you hear me now?
I heard part of it, but not all of it.
Okay, I'll disconnect.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, very good. Going to the New Jersey Historic Preservation Conference. I want to thank commissioners who responded to us for registration. I believe we have 5 commissioners, well, including myself, that are going to be registered. I just heard from Commissioner DeLeese also today with interest of being registered. So I know that Tim Henderson has already made arrangements for registration. So when they give us the login information or special code or individual access codes, we'll be sending them out to you. We're still about 2 weeks before the first meeting, so we expect to get something to send to you probably closer to that, maybe a week away. So thanks again for responding, and this is an important part of our annual training requirement, and last year there was not a commission a conference, so we really couldn't attend. So that's what I wanted to report to you on item A. Also, we have, most of you have already found out that Vice Chair Rafael is going to be making a presentation at this conference, and I know many of us are excited to support her in her presentation. Under item B, financial disclosure statements, this is a reminder to commissioners who have not yet filed. We are literally 1 week away from the filing deadline. I have received the majority of commissioners' confirmations. Thank you very much for following up on the last reminder email. Even today, as people were getting ready for the meeting, I did get several more. I'm going to be reaching out to a couple of more commissioners to remind them individually, but we're almost there. And this is very important because there's a fine associated with not filing on time. So just wanted to say thank you. And if you're one of the commissioners who has not yet filed, if you need to catch up with me by email to send you the link again or any other information that can help you file, just reach out to me and we'll take care of it right away. It's very simple to do, especially if you've done it already in past years. Thank you.
Thank you, Executive Director. Before we move to item 5, I'd like to ask the commissioners, are there any questions regarding administrative matters?
Mr. Chairman, I have one other topic that I would request the Commission's indulgence with under administrative matters. It concerns our meetings for next month and possibly thereafter. As everyone knows, we're getting very close now to an announcement by the governor to allow for folks to be gathered indoors in a more comfortable way than previously. You all know that the City Council has already moved to meeting in person. I'd like to see if commissioners would be interested in switching over to in-person meeting for next meeting. If there's some way that we could maybe poll people, I'd like to see how people are feeling about that. I haven't heard yet that we're going to be required to do that. But I know that the IT people that support these meetings virtually, need to be here in this extra evening in order to do this program. So I'd like to, ask the commissioners if you're interested in meeting in person. That might be possible. If we request to meet in person, I can actually ask the administration if that's something that we can do. But first, would it, through the chair, if it would be okay to ask for people to sound off about what their preference would be?
Yes. Can we do an email to legal to Maita, basically sending a yay or nay for your desire to go back to City Hall. And then I guess we'll put together a timeline before the end of the week where we'll request your answer to this question, and then we'll follow up with a formal email, to IT and the appropriate powers to be.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, this is Rich. Do we have to go so formally? Can we just do a poll now and have the commissioners raise their hands if they want to go back to it, or not raise their hands if they don't, or something like that?
Well, I would like to get all the commissioners on board. That's the only reason I said that. I know we have a quorum tonight. 2 of the commissioners are missing, and it would be nice to have everyone included. So that's the reason why I suggested we do the remote or virtual poll to legal.
Thank you. I'll follow up with our attorney on that topic.
That's fine. You can definitely send it to me and I'll follow up and send it to the director after.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
If there are no additional questions on item 4, I'd like to move to item 5, committee reports. Sub-item A, Core George Fund report.
So this is totally my fault, and those who are on the Core George committee, we were supposed to meet on Friday. We did not because I just completely forgot. So we are rescheduling that meeting for either this week or next week. So I did send out an email, and I think only one person responded. So if those on the committee would get back to me, at least I can send that out while it's still fresh in my mind and on our calendars. But with that, the Tours and Events Committee did meet at 5 o'clock today before our HPC meeting. So that was Joyce, myself, and Mohammed. So we would, just like to share, some notes on things that we discussed. So I'll just summarize it, and then of course Joyce and Mohammed, please jump in. We talked about pretty much having tours or resuming tours for the fall. Obviously something in person, preferably a walking tour, just because, one of the things that was raised was whether buses or having people in close quarters on a bus is still appropriate, even though we know that there are mandates that are lifting throughout the state of New Jersey, but it's the comfortability of people and what they are okay with, so figuring a walking tour would probably be preferable for this year. We did have some suggestions, but obviously it's open to discussion. The second was about the HPC Dinner. Prior to COVID, we had talked about, during the year of COVID, we had talked about doing an event to the point that we selected, awardees for a new dinner. Obviously, the dinner did not happen last year, so we are proposing, preferably in January, HPC Awards Dinner to sort of commemorate those people who we previously wanted to award, and if there's any new slate of projects that we can include, so kind of like combining 2 years of awards. So probably a long dinner, but might be very enjoyable. Committee members, if you'd like to add to that would be great. If not, have we opened it up to comments, discussion from the rest of the commission?
This is Chair Tate, and I want to say thank you for pushing forward on this. This last year has been tremendous for all of us, and kind of circling back to this dinner and what it means for the city is really important. And I just hope that we can kind of figure out how we can make it as successful as the previous years. And everyone's on board, and we'll continue to give it the best effort that we could. So thank you for the energy that you're you're putting into getting this up to speed.
Yeah, the Commissioner Walter, I just want to agree with that, and I think having an award again in January will put a little bit of emphasis back into getting together and, having these dinners and things started again. I think it's necessary, even though I can't be there. Bye.
Then you have to come up for it. You can't leave until after the event. We felt January, or at least during our discussion, the two reasons for January, and again, open to discussion on it. One, I found that in the years that we've been doing the dinner, and especially like this year, for example, the elections are shortly thereafter, and I do believe, given that, right, we use the brownstone, the people who come to our event are local, and I feel that if it's going to be another event for, right, for whatever political reason, what have you, they're going to be likely to go to that event, maybe stop in on ours, maybe not even attend ours. January, when we held that event the one time in January in coordination with Alexander Hamilton's birthday, it was probably the largest HPC dinner that I've attended. It was very well received. So I think that, it's after the holidays, it's after election season. What better way to bring in the new year, having, right, this awards event. And I think the, probability of having a higher turnout is there, which I know that, the dinner is not as a, it's not for profit making, but at least, we can guarantee some profit that could go into the markers fund.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Are there any questions? If not, I'd like to move forward to item 6 on our agenda, old business and correspondence. Director, can you read the director's reports and activities at the historic site, sub-items 1 through 5, please?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, sure. So our first topic for the Great Falls National Historical Park, we I believe last month went over the Hitchell Stadium project has broken ground. There was a formal event, I believe I reported to you on the last time, and they're actually over there doing construction. It's remarkable after all these years to see all the activity of construction coming to bear on the stadium. They're in what usually happens in the first parts of the rehabilitation project. They're in demolition. So if you go over to the stadium, you'll notice some of the copings along the tops of the walls have been removed. You'll notice the press box has been taken down. I believe I was inside only one time, very briefly, to take a look around. I plan to visit again soon, and I can give you more information as of next month. When I was there, they were taking the bleacher seats sort of off, the fiberglass seats off of the covers. And I have been talking with different people about the progress. And, for example, one of the topics that was brought up to me is to see about an interest in salvaging some part of the demolition debris from the stadium, and possibly offering it to other museums, like the Negro Leagues Hall of Fame, for example. So this is something that might be of interest, to have a piece of Hitchell Stadium, concrete is what I'm talking about, that would otherwise be thrown away during demolition. So this is a topic that I'll discuss with the contractors, and also the placement of the 2 bronze plaques that are now down at the Paterson Museum. Where were they located in the stadium? We start thinking about putting them back in that location or in a different location where they would be more secure. So these kind of sort of smaller topics are being kind of tossed around now as well. And we're also hearing from Well, even over the years, there have been people interested in following the story of the rehab project and have wanted to be involved in some way through donations or identifying some particular parts of the stadium that we might be able to have people, actually invest in, even if it's a small amount of money to provide some ownership for helping to have their investment, in the project. Now that the project is underway, this is something that we can start to talk about more as well. So these are some of the things that I'm going to be bringing up with the contractors and the developers. I've been invited to also participate in future construction meetings, so I plan to attend as many of those as I can so I can continue to keep the commission up to date on progress in the stadium project. The quarry lawn project, we continue to be finishing we're having some very complex specifications now getting cleaned up with regard to the brownfield remediation portion of the project, and we're getting now to our designers who are almost in like 90% drafts of their construction documents. So again, we're looking to scoop all this toward the center more and more to get to actually getting out for bidding. I had in mind that would be ready for bidding in June. So look forward to that possibly being a reality. But if not June, perhaps July. So that is getting much closer and closer to happenings this summer. Also, there's been made available really good news, additional funding for the Vista Park project, and this is very exciting because we did receive a grant for construction that was not quite enough for the entire park. It is a very large park, and although not as complicated and expensive as the quarry lawn, still spreading a lot of soil and plantings and improvements over 6.5 or more acres becomes costly. So it was good news to hear that the National Park Service through the Land and Water Conservation Fund has made additional funding available this year. On the ATP site, I have scheduled with the mayor a town hall meeting for this Thursday evening to talk with residents about the ATP site fence installation and some future plans that we have hatched immediately at the site. And I'm going to send the meeting link to all of you probably tomorrow if you'd like to attend and watch that meeting, the presentation that I'm giving with the mayor on Thursday evening. We have an additional grant opportunity this year to apply for historic preservation funding to stabilize the Colt Gun Mill and the smokestacks at the ATP site so that they will be, first of all, better protected than they are now, but also be much safer to work around them as we continue our efforts to remediate contamination from the site. So that's an application that should be going for a public hearing at the City Council during June, since the application is due in June. So that's another, I think, exciting note about the ATP news. So we also have did a walkthrough with engineers who are hired under the Passaic Valley Water Commission. The Levine Reservoir Memorandum of Understanding agreement has them doing an engineering report on the raceway system to determine the feasibility of sharing river water from the raceway up to the new basin of the reservoir in order to continue to create a water feature where in front of the two storage tanks. So that project is underway, is contracted, and and I'm starting to provide as much information about the raceway as I can to the engineers so they can do their part. And we look forward to getting that work, that report sort of done during the fall, I believe, is when they're hoping to conclude it. And this will be a significant milestone toward starting up on preservation of the raceway system. So going to the other projects in the Great Falls District, Lucasville Memorial Park, if you've been by there, you see that it's been under construction now and it's continuing to evolve. The large excavations were done to pour footings and walls, concrete walls, for the various retaining walls that we saw in the plan and the stairs. So they're pretty much at that stage now. The demo phase is completed, and I've had already generated some substantial meeting information and data meeting with our partners to create the interpretive panels for the park. As a reminder, one on the Silk Strike, one on Lucasville. There are also some special engravings in the fabric of the park that we're working on the concepts for, and also an interpretive panel about the Italian immigrant community that established itself in the neighborhood there. So that also is underway. We continue to are waiting to get draft plans from the building across from Lucasville Park, known as we call it the Fabric Color Building or the Industry Mill. Just as a reminder, they're under now making a planning board application for the complete rehab of the site, and they're doing some more feasibility studies on certain buildings before they submit. But I'm just pleased to say that they're also still working on submitting an application. We also have met with the Argus Mill and the new building project across from ATP site that we reviewed some time ago. That project has had some change for the better, where the number of units has been reduced and the Argus Mill has been separated from the new building, so that it's sort of more of a standalone rehab project that qualifies for tax credits, as opposed to what was presented where the buildings were sort of connected through a rear stair tower and so forth. So we have been in review of continued and better sort of evolution. We also continue work down at Morris Street. They have started, as I mentioned to you last time, constructing the gymnasium building, and the brick is going up on the facade, and it's looking really good. We've conducted some intensive color, mortar, and brick reviews to get that new gymnasium going, and also the other gymnasium that we've approved recently is we're finalizing review details on that. They're probably looking to get started with constructing that during the summer. So that one is also moving along. As far as the Eastside Park Historic District goes, I believe, and I don't have the results in this, but I believe we had a bidding process open, and the bids may have come in for county-funded grant improvement projects at Eastside Park. I'm not sure what the results were, if we had bids that we can award. If so, then it'll probably be moving on to council to getting that done. You may have heard in news that there was a gunfight in Eastside Park recently. It resulted in at least one death, and this is very, very sad. I'm just trying very much to remember another summer when we've had shootings in Eastside Park, and I just can't remember one. I do know that I attended a public, like a town hall meeting, I don't know, it was about 2 weeks before this event happened, and I remember hearing residents talking about their concerns about the traffic going on in Eastside Park. So it was just a real tragedy to hear that this kind of violence was resulted in Eastside Park. And to that end, it's public news that the county and the city are negotiating a transfer of land of Eastside and Westside Parks to the county, and I understand that conversation is still alive and ongoing. So we may be hearing more about that soon.
John Franklin, could I just say something on that? On Eastside Park, the lower park where the shootings took place are now chained off. You cannot drive down in the lower park anymore. So that was the result of the shootings. So there's no more traffic in the lower park.
Do you know where the shooting happened in the park, by the way?
Yes, they on that road that goes above the ball fields, when that road just gets just about to Broadway, and that turn where it goes down towards 20, it was right in that area.
Okay, thank you. It's the Danforth Memorial Library Rehabilitation Project. We have a design process that is out for bidding, RFP, to get an architect. That the bids will open at the end of this week. I understand there's been a lot of interest in this project, so we will end up having to review a lot of interested submissions. So I'm looking forward to having a good result and being able to award a design contract so that that project can also be moving ahead. We also have been working with our DPW. In fact, we'll be meeting with them later this week in the field to actually pick up some slate stones that we located at the ATP site during the fence installation when I was down there doing a lot of intensive work with the crews, the EPA crews. I believe we've located the appropriate cut slate slabs upon which the bell can be mounted at the Underground Railroad site. So the DPW will meet us out there, and we'll actually get to the work of moving the stones to the Underground Railroad memorial site, and also picking up the bell and its carriage from the park, from Overlook Park, and bringing it over. As far as getting the parts and so forth of the bell rehabilitated, we'll probably be working on that after we move it and get it bolted down, to the slabs. We're looking to help to participate in the Juneteenth memorial service and a day of different events, and the bell might be part of that. So we're working toward that deadline of about 2.5, or I'd say maybe 3 weeks from now, having this ready. So let's hope for success in our getting things moved all in one day, perhaps later this week. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Director. This is Chair. I want to open this up to the commissioners for any questions for the 5 items under the Director's reports and the activities in historic sites. Before I open it up, Director, I have a quick question about Hinchcliffe Stadium. I know this might be premature, but do we know where is there any discussion about the original location of the diamond, when it's constructed? I know this is probably like phase 3 of the project, but are there any chatter or discussions that might indicate where we're going to go in that direction?
Not right now. I think I'll have plenty of opportunity to continue to keep this in state of mind for the construction meetings as I keep my ear to the ground on this. So I guess my hope is that I would be it would be known to me, be clear to me, like when the field has to be ordered, like when they actually have to order the field to be manufactured. Since it's probably a long lead time item, maybe they're starting now, maybe they're starting next month. But I'll be bringing that into question to see, to make sure that I don't sort of miss the opportunity to sound off about it and get more informed, and I'll let you know about that. So I know that's a topic that we want to watch out for.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
I just remembered one other, to me, very exciting one for the Great Falls district. The Passaic County awarded the Friends of the Paterson Museum a planning grant for architectural services to design construction documents for a train shed for the locomotives at the museum. This would be a beautiful made of iron steelworks, not out of timber, structure that will cover both of the locomotives, and also provide like a major sign facing Market Street that says, Paterson Museum. So as you know, we don't really have a good Paterson Museum sign on either the entrance or on the front of the building. We do have the sign coming in from that you can see from far away that the commission funded, the rehab of that sign. But the shed will also incorporate a sign. So as they develop plans for this, through this grant award, obviously I'll bring them to the commission like usual city business to show you the designs and do a design review. I was just excited about telling you about that one.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting news. That's good to hear that there's energy injected in that area. Commissioners, do you have any questions for the director on his report? If not, I'd like to move to item 8 on the agenda, which is the public portion.
I make a motion to open public portion.
Do we have a second?
Seconded.
All right. Secretary, we have Vice Chair Rafael for the motion, and the second came from Commissioner Corbo. Is that recorded?
That is recorded, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Can we have a roll call?
Commissioner DeLees.
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia Leon.
Yes.
Commissioner Ahmed.
Yes.
Commissioner Corbo.
Yes.
Vice Chair Rafael.
Yes.
Commissioner Walter.
Yes.
Chair Tate.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to open the floor to the public. Secretary, could you provide the number to the public to call in?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Those who would like to participate in the public portion may call in at 973-321-1579 and enter meeting ID 711-680-001. Again, those who would like to participate in the public portion may call in at 973-321-1579 and enter meeting ID 711-680-001.
Thank you, Tim. The time is now 9:08 p.m. We're going to leave the call line open for 5 minutes, which will be 9:13. Thank you. time is now 9:13 p.m. Executive Director, can you confirm from IT if there are any callers?
Mr. Chairman, there are no callers.
Thank you. Commissioners, can we have a motion to close public portion and a second?
To close?
I'll second Rich.
Secretary, we have Vice Chair Rafael for the motion, and the second is Commissioner Walter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner DeLeese,
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia Leon,
Yes.
Commissioner Ahmed,
Yes.
Commissioner Corbo,
Yes.
Vice Chair Rafael,
Yes.
Commissioner Walter,
Yes.
Chair Tate.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, so before we motion to close and adjourn the meeting, I just want to say to everyone, thank you very much. I want to give a special thank you to Executive Director Gianfranco Archimede and also Timothy Henderson for the heavy lifting on the administrative side of all of this. Also our legal. I just want to thank you, Maida, thank you for your energy helping us, and each of our commissioners. And I know right now there's a uphill, recovery that we're all going through with this current condition with, the transition of the current COVID and all that kind of stuff. Thank you so much for, your time and energy in all of this.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, Will.
Yes.
With that being said, if there are no additional comments, I'd like to motion to adjourn.
Fully to end the meeting. Thank you, Will. So I motion to adjourn.
Well, as long as, I want to stay here all night, but I'll second that.
All right. So, Secretary Henderson, we have Vice Chair Rafael for the motion, and we have Commissioner Walter for the second.
Confirmed, Mr. Chairman.
Can we have a roll call to adjourn?
Commissioner DeLeese,
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia Leon,
Yes.
Commissioner Ahmed,
Yes.
Commissioner Corbo,
Yes.
Vice Chair Rafael,
Yes.
Commissioner Walter,
Yes.
Chair Tate.
Yes.
Motion carries.
I call this meeting adjourned at 9:16 p.m. on May 24th, 2021. I want to thank you all and have a great evening.
Good night, all.
Good night.
Good night, all. Take care.
Thank you. Good night.
Everyone.
Good night.
Good night.